Poisoned, post-apocalyptic Earth, ruined skyscrapers, wind and thunderstorms, and one man on a blimp navigating through this hellish landscape. Welcome to Forever Skies, a sci-fi survival game set in the future. You play as a scientist who is sent back to Earth that has become quite different after a global ecological disaster, the dust. Your goal is to find a cure for a virus that apparently affected the remaining human population. You land in a pod, already infected, and it is clear it is a one-way ticket. You have to find a cure or die. The main survival mechanics are not unique. You have to manage thirst, hunger, health and sleep deprivation. And it is not difficult to do that. The resources for obtaining water and food are limitless. Right in the beginning of the game, you get access to a so-called DAC extractor, and with it you collect all the synthetics and metal particles that simply float in the sky in endless numbers. With these materials you can build a water condenser and lures with which you catch insects and a type of salad. A flying salad, apparently. The water is to be decontaminated and food should be boiled before eating. But once you get the hang of it, surviving won't even be an issue. The food does spoil after a while, which might become a problem if you don't pay attention. Quality food like boiled moth will last for about an hour though, and you can also find a blueprint for a freezer which will alleviate this problem. The freezer does not halt spoilage completely, but gives you much more time before your food is gone for good. You can also find canned food now and then, but this is essentially a relic from the old days and can't be produced. The canned food is not very nutritious though, and cannot be stacked, which means it is only good as an emergency food. As of now, you are not able to print food that won't spoil eventually. The cool feature about Forever Skies is your blimp, which is essentially a flying mobile base. As far as I know, it is the first such base in a first-person survival game. The only other comparisons I know of are the submarines from Subnautica and the floating bases in Raft and Stranded Deep. But you can't fly with them of course, as you do here. To my knowledge, there is not even a limit to how big your blimp can get. The limiting factor is the weight of it, which means in order to make your base bigger, you have to increase the size of your balloon, for which you need to find helium. Bigger balloons equal higher weight limit. Helium is quite common, you'll find it on any wind farm station. For some reason, the size of your balloon does not affect the flight speed, and there is no inertia you have to deal with. The winds don't affect your flight direction as well. Also, there is no electricity management, your blimp will magically always have power. My logical explanation is that the balloon consists of solar cells, and that is how you always have power. But I would appreciate having some form of electricity management in the game. Also, there is no way to recharge your batteries. Once they're depleted, they simply disappear from your inventory. You have to find new ones in the world. Not a big problem in general, since except for a special automated resource collector, which you can obtain later in the game, the battery depletion is slow for most other usages, and you can always find a new one on each station. The post-apocalyptic world seems to go on forever, so that obtaining resources is not a big problem. The only problematic resource type are plants. For some reasons, they cannot be stacked. They also spoil very quickly, some plants already after about 20 minutes. This is especially problematic if you want to obtain colors for the paint gun, which you can use for decorative purposes in your base. Some plants are only a few per greenhouse station, between 1 and 3 plants from my own observation. One recipe for a paint requires you to have 5 specimens of one specific plant, which means you potentially need to visit 5 greenhouse stations in only 20 minutes, before the plants spoil and are thus unusable. If you have the freezer, the time will be at least doubled, but it can still be a bit of a hassle. The devs do plan to add a gardening system in the future, and that would probably remove the stress of finding new plants and use them before they spoil. Inventory management is a bit of an issue, as in most survival games. Especially in the beginning, since the basic storage crate offers only 6 inventory slots each. And the bigger hanging shelf with 9 inventory slots is for some reason tied to a blueprint. As luck would have it, I happened to find it just in time when I was running out of space to storage the rewards of my constant looting. But in my opinion, the hanging shelf should already be unlocked from the beginning. Finding blueprints is not difficult at all, but for that you first must realize that the question marks on the map are the places where you will find them. A minigame is also included, Virus Extraction, which is not only fun, but actually important for progression. There is also a cool other biome than the usual Forever Skies, the Underdust. In other words, the solid ground, which has become very different and mysterious after the events of the Dust. There, you will encounter new and interesting survival mechanics. I don't want to spoil the Underdust for you, but there will be new types of resources that will offer you very useful new items. Go and see it for yourself.
Caution, a storm is coming.
For now, there is only one environmental hazard, thunderstorm. You should be under a roof when it happens. Personally, I never got struck by lightning, but parts of your blimp do get damaged and must be repaired with consumable patches. Sadly, there is no such thing like strong winds where you could be blown off a station or your blimp changes direction and crashes into a building. You also don't have to tether your blimp to a station. It will always stay put no matter what. Whether it's good or bad, you decide for yourself. As of now, the Forever Skies is a solid game with as good as no bugs. I only encountered one bug where the items in my inventory could not be moved with drag and drop any longer, but creating a new game and then loading back to the old save somehow fixed the issue. I experienced frame drops though, especially during rain and thunderstorms, but it always lasted only a few seconds. Also, there were occasional visual freezes, especially just a few seconds after loading into the game, probably because the world was still being generated. But all in all, nothing game breaking, and these issues will probably get fixed in the near future. There is also a built-in unstuck feature. It is always a possibility that you could get stuck somewhere while exploring the derelict stations. You simply press the unstuck button in the menu and it will teleport you back to your blimp. Saving and leaving the game will also teleport you back to your blimp upon loading your save file. If you do manage to die, for instance by falling off a station, you simply return to your blimp with your main inventory intact, but lose 20% of basic resources like metal or synthetics or normal difficulty, which is no big deal because these resources are easy to obtain or can be crafted. And if you are careful, while moving on a ledge or jumping, you can complete the game deathless easily. Should you find the survival mechanics like thirst and hunger management annoying, which more or less involves drinking and eating every few minutes, then the easy difficulty is the right choice for you. You will still have to eat and drink, but at bigger intervals. Choosing the easy difficulty won't make the exploration and progression in the game any easier. The material requirements for crafting remain the same. But be careful, you can't change the difficulty settings afterwards. You would need to start a new game. The story is very short so far, but will be expanded in future updates, so don't expect much in that regard right now. All in all, I had a blast with Forever Skies. A certain constant question kept bothering me. Why is this game so fun? I didn't try to rush and managed to play for solid 25 hours until I gathered all the blueprints and visited all mission-related places. But if you like to simply fly around in your blimp and loot ruined stations for pure fun, and also like to work on beautifying your base, then you can stay in the game for much longer. The ambience in the game is fantastic. The constant wind sound is very relaxing. The sound of rain and thunderstorms are very good. The lightning flashes are a bit too bright though, and even permeate through solid walls. The epilepsy warning from the devs is very appropriate. And if you are a Subnautica fan like me, this game is an absolute must for you. The music while starting your blimp is so similar. The voice of your AI assistant, the blueprint scanner, the way the printer looks and sounds, and the visual aesthetics of your base in general could have been from Subnautica. And now, stop watching this video and go experience Forever Skies for yourself. You won't be disappointed. If you like this video, please consider to subscribe and leave a comment. I'm interested in your opinion about the game. Have a great day and let's meet in future videos. Bye!